educational technology. So the idea of educational technology is been talked about a lot over the last few years, as we all know. And it seems like the word technology is the big word in education. It's part of Common Core. Lots of districts are talking about moving towards it, trying to figure out what it is. There's lots of professional development on it. But this is the future. This is 21st century education. So this presentation is going to talk about some of the things that are happening in the classroom now, moving towards new ideas potentially. And I sort of did this in order of kind of what's already going on and where it's going. So to begin, I thought I would talk about one of the ideas that is currently happening already, which is the BYOD. BYOD has to do with bring your own device. And what's really great about this particular program is it's free. Students bring their own devices that they already know. And because of tablet computing and smartphones and all of that great stuff, it's something that students can already know in the classroom, not have to learn, not have to take time teaching, and it creates this one-to-one idea, which is where we're headed, right, in the future of education. So most students already have devices of some sort they can bring in. It makes it super easy, super inexpensive, and allows teachers to create this one-to-one environment. The next idea that I want to talk about is the idea of social media. I feel like social media is one of those areas that we are truly missing right now. Many of our districts block a lot of social media, which, well, this is another subject. The idea of blocking anything is kind of ridiculous considering that students can access it from their own devices, but that's, like I said, another topic for discussion later. But social media, this is again something students are already using. They already know it. They're familiar with it. They like it. That's why they're using it. So it's certainly something that should be brought into education a lot more than it already is. It allows for collaboration both on a local and global scale, and we are supposedly creating global citizens. So this is something that can help navigate that and create that. And my best example that I can think of right now is Twitter. And this is something that teachers are using, coaches are using, students are using, everyone's pretty much using it. I just recently attended a Google conference a few weeks ago, and I was one of the presenters, and I was peer pressured into using my Twitter account, and everything was about Twitter. Everything was a Twitter about Twitter. But the point here is it's something everyone's using, it's a way to communicate, and it's a real world way to communicate. So things like Facebook, Instagram, all of that stuff, any way that we can use that in the classroom, I think that is one of the next trends. Next we have PD, professional development. I know in my experience, professional development has sort of become one of those phrases you just don't want to hear. Being sent to professional development tends to be torturous, and both for the presenter and the students, the teachers, involved. I think that the trend for professional development is really starting to change, and we're seeing a lot more of those boring lectures going away. No longer are they going to expect the teachers, who, as we all know, are really the worst students, to sit and listen for 6 to 8 hours on end about things they think they already know about. So I think that the future of this has to do with ideas like choose your own adventure. I know this is a fairly new idea. In fact, another colleague and myself are working on this type of idea for our own professional development within our district. But the idea that teachers can choose their own way to learn and what they want to learn in that moment. So a lot more self-directed professional development is the future here. And also this new idea of badges, which can also be used in the classroom as well. Badges is sort of the idea, you want to think like brownies or Boy Scouts, where you completed a task and you earn a badge. They're starting to bring this into professional development as well, and I hate to reference the Google conference again, but it's something they tried for the first time at the conference that I attended in Indio, California, and it seemed to work really well. So as you went to a particular seminar, there was a task for you to complete at that seminar, and once you completed the task, you were given a badge. You go online, you put this code in, and you now have a collection of badges, and it's kind of neat, and it shows sort of where you've been and what you've learned, and it can be competitive, and it's a lot of fun, and it gives something tangible to the people who are learning, something tangible to show that they actually did learn it. And I think that is really important and a future trend of professional development. Another big trend in education is the changing learning environment. No longer is it the lecture-based classroom with, I'm going to say 25 desks, but we all know the truth, and it's a lot more than that these days. But just desks in rows lined up. And the other thing that's going away is the labs. No longer are there going to be 30, 35 computers in a room where you take your class to. All of that is changing with this BYOD and one-to-one classroom and all of that. So labs will be gone. The classroom setup will be gone. It'll be more open spaces, group setup. I know in my classroom, it is set up in 4 to 6 person groups rather than the lecture setup classroom. And I think with project-based learning, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, and things like that, we are moving to more of a collaboration setup. I once heard recently that if you walk into a classroom and you can't find the teacher or the front of the room, then you're doing your job as far as educators. And I thought that was really, really relevant to today's learning. So with more of the one-to-one options, BYOD, iPads, iPods, Chromebooks, whatever the districts are choosing, it certainly allows for a whole unique way of setting up your environment so students can collaborate and work on their devices, and it's more the teacher as facilitator rather than sage on the stage idea. So the next one I want to talk about is format, and there's so many now to choose from, and there's a video I put on here. It's Salman Khan talking about Khan Academy, and I'm not going to play that during this presentation, but you're welcome to go back and watch that video. It's actually pretty good. But we have the flipped classroom, we have the blended classroom, we have fully online, we have the basic classroom setup, lecture, direct lecture, etc., and MOOCs. And I think the trend right now is to try everything and see what works. I think every teacher is different. I think every classroom is different. The students' needs are different. And I think you need to find what works with your set of students, with your personality. I know for myself, now that I have basically taken a fully online program, and I've also, of course, seen the classroom and the MOOC, and I, for one, am part of the blended idea. I think that a mix of everything is kind of what we need to have, and I think that would help reach everybody. But that's just my personal opinion. But I think right now the trend is to try everything and see what works. As we move forward, I think we're going to be moving more towards blended online type curriculum, especially as we go to a global scale. I think that is something that we're going to have to move towards. And then another format that I think needs to be discussed is the idea of gaming. And James Paul Gee is one of the top, well, they call him a scholar, for this idea of bringing gaming into the classroom. And I know there's a lot of research being done here on gaming, and obviously we know a lot of our students are gamers. So far, there hasn't been much research on, or I'm sorry, not research, there hasn't been a program that is brought into the classroom that kids have really identified with and really engaged with as far as the gaming idea, but I think the research is showing that it's coming, and gaming will be a new sort of trend in education sooner rather than later. And again, there's another video here for you to watch if you want to, but I'm not going to go ahead and play it here in this presentation. And then we also need to talk about something close to my heart, which is Google education. I am a huge supporter of Google in the classroom. I think that with Google Drive and Google Education, there are just so many options for collaboration, both asynchronous and synchronous work and collaboration, organization possibilities for the teacher. You don't even need a learning management system anymore. You really could do it all through Google Drive with folders, and there's just so much you can do here that I could spend hours talking about it. But the bottom line here is with Google Drive, you can collaborate on a one-to-one with your teacher, with other students, other classmates, other schools, locally, globally, in real time, not in real time, whatever fits your needs. It's just there's so much here that you can do, and I really feel, and Google is making a huge push to be in the educational field. So definitely Google Education is another next trend. Data is a big idea, of course. We talk about data all the time in our professional development. But with the new computerized options, with the learning management systems and taking quizzes online and tests online and group collaboration type things, I think data is going to become a lot more important and a bigger trend because it's going to be easier to get, easier to manage, easier to understand, and basically just be better all around. So in EdTech, we're going to see a lot more talk about data, but data that we can all relate to and understand and access. I think access to is a key word here. Because in the past it's been hard to get a hold of data, but now with everything computerized, data is going to be a lot more accessible. And then talking about assessment, with online assessments, taking quizzes and tests online, being able to answer questions and post projects and wiki projects and all of that stuff. It's going to be a lot different than what we've seen in the past. Data-driven, I think, is going to become more logical than it has been in the past. Real data that we're getting from the online assessments. Project-based learning is certainly a new trend and a different way to assess how our students are learning and getting the concepts. And I love this video. The answer is C, no longer. Why we need Common Core. If you haven't seen this video, I highly recommend watching it. It's pretty funny. And it really talks about how the way we've assessed in the past is so different than what we really need to be assessing. Whether or not a student can bubble in an answer has nothing to do with the real world. And our online assessments that can be more open-ended, project-based learning, all of this type of stuff is going to take us to it's going to take our students to where they need to be to show us what they have learned. And final thoughts. This is a great video. I like this video because, number one, it was created by a student, but it also shows us all the different ways that the future could take us. And one of the things that is in this video that you might notice are the way the screens work and how interactive everything is. And I think that that is a future of not just education, but our future. The idea of a screen, the idea of, a locked-in computer. I don't think this is where it ends. I think this is just the beginning. So I am going to play this video and to finish off the presentation. So enjoy.